The season of transitions and restructuring has arrived for Manchester City, and even with a sequence of extremely successful years, the changes are not only inevitable, but seem to be part of the club's evolution under the leadership of Pep Guardiola. The fan who is used to seeing the sky blue machine operating perfectly may be surprised by the alterations being planned behind the scenes at the Etihad. And it all starts with the goalkeeper. Since 2017, Ederson has established himself as the fortress between the posts, offering not only security, but an impressive ability to build play, a vital characteristic in the style of football implemented by Guardiola. However, like everything in life, even the most successful cycles come to an end. At 31 years old, Ederson is beginning to consider a new challenge, and the growing interest from Saudi Arabian clubs may have opened the door to his possible departure. Faced with this concrete possibility, Manchester City has already begun its search for a worthy replacement, and two names are gaining traction within the club's corridors: Diogo Costa, a standout at Porto, and Joan Garcia, a young prospect from Espanyol. Both have different styles but share one common point. They are seen as goalkeepers of the future. Diogo Costa, the undisputed starter in Portugal, has already shown interest in wearing the sky blue shirt. However, the obstacle lies in the $64 million release clause imposed by the Portuguese club. Although negotiations are underway, Porto is unwilling to let go of such a significant amount without relevant compensation. Nevertheless, Hugo Viana, City's current sporting director, remains committed to finding a viable solution. On the other hand, Joan Garcia emerges as a more affordable option, yet no less talented. At 24 years old, he was one of La Liga's highlights last season, leading in the number of saves made, a figure that impresses not only City's analysts, but also Barcelona, who are closely monitoring the player. What Garcia may lack in foot skills, something essential for a goalkeeper in Guardiola's system, he makes up for with reflexes, positioning, and game reading. His profile pleases the coaching staff, especially due to his age and growth potential. The question now is whether City will be able to move quickly enough to secure his signing before another European giant swoops in. While attention is divided between the possible heirs to the number 1 shirt, another behind-the-scenes movement points to a major structural change: the likely departure of Juan Malilo. A longtime acquaintance of Guardiola, with whom he shares a relationship of trust and tactical affinity, Lillo has played a decisive role in leading the technical team since his arrival in 2020. After a brief stint as coach of Al Sadd in Qatar, he returned to City in 2023 to resume his duties. Indeed, during a period when Pep had to step away for health reasons, it was Lillo who effectively managed the team, guiding them to important victories. Now, at 59 years old, he appears ready for another challenge, thus closing a remarkable chapter at the club. Lillo's departure, though expected by some behind the scenes, represents more than just an assistant coach change. He was seen as a vital link between players and manager, someone who deeply understood the playing model and knew how to translate it to the squad. His influence on players like Rodri was notable, and his absence will be felt not only in training sessions, but also in tactical decision-making moments during matches. With the coaching staff in transition, Hugo Viana becomes an even more central figure in this new phase for Manchester City, and his radar is not only tuned to goalkeepers. In midfield, another name emerges as a possible reinforcement: Ryan Cherki. The young Frenchman, currently at Lyon, is in the final year of his contract and could be acquired for around $25 million, a true bargain by current European market standards. Cherki is one of those talents who both enchant and divide opinions. At only 21 years old, he ended last season with remarkable stats: 12 goals and 20 assists in 44 matches. His creativity, vision, and ball control make him a valuable asset. However, there is a caveat. Thierry Henry, the French icon and Cherki's former youth international teammate, has raised concerns about the player's tactical commitment, especially in the defensive phase of the game. Henry publicly commented that Cherki took time to understand the importance of contributing without the ball, something that could be an obstacle in a team like Guardiola's, where collective work is taken to the extreme. Nevertheless, there are signs of improvement. Last season, the midfielder showed greater discipline, recovery, and consistency, qualities that were previously lacking. Still, within City, some advocate caution. The question is Cherki ready to take on responsibilities in a squad full of stars and compete at a high level with the technical and mental demands the team imposes? Hugo Viana seems to believe so, or at least is willing to take that bet, especially if negotiations with Florian Wirtz do not come to fruition. Meanwhile, another name gaining strong momentum is Ardon Jashari from Luzern. The 22-year-old Swiss was voted Player of the Season in the National League and has attracted interest from several clubs, including Bayer Leverkusen and Borussia Mönchengladbach. But it is Manchester City who is leading the more advanced talks with his representatives. Jashari's profile is the closest to a traditional defensive midfielder, with tactical discipline, marking ability, and good ball distribution. Even with Rodri as the absolute starter, the coaching staff evaluates the need to have a backup more aligned with the Spaniard's style. Nico Gonzalez has filled this role at times, but his more offensive nature limits him in this position. Interestingly, Manuel Akanji, City's defender and Jashari's teammate on the Swiss national team, may play a key role in this negotiation. The connection between the two is already solid, and the fact that they know each other well could help the young player's adaptation if the deal goes through. Luzern, meanwhile, has set a price close to $29 million, which again represents an opportunity for City to secure a promising talent before other bigger clubs enter the race more forcefully. With so many simultaneous movements, Manchester City is sending clear signals that it is not just thinking about the next season, but planning for the next 5 years. The squad renewal is not merely a matter of necessity, but a strategy designed to keep the club competitive on all fronts. As Manchester City adjusts its pieces for the challenges of the 2024-25 season, it becomes clear that the board aims to ensure the squad is ready to compete on multiple fronts without relying on chance. The margin for error at clubs of this stature is minimal, and any unresolved weakness can be costly when decisions come. The search for a new goalkeeper, reinforcements in midfield, and even the possible signing of a bold talent like Cherki are not isolated moves. They are parts of a larger process of reconfiguration, and this process demands not only technical decisions, but also long-term strategic choices. Hugo Viana, recently integrated into the executive leadership, takes on a vital role in this silent but decisive rebuilding. The experience Viana has accumulated in other markets and his capacity for negotiation are already beginning to have an effect. Talks with Porto and Espanyol regarding goalkeepers reveal a director who not only seeks the best athlete, but also the best deal. His analytical profile sets him apart from former managers. He is willing to listen, weigh options, negotiate, and above all, wait for the right moment to act. This becomes even more evident when observing the delicacy with which he is handling the situation involving Ryan Cherki. With the Florian Wirtz deal drifting away due to Liverpool's interest, Viana has found in Cherki an alternative with an interesting cost-benefit ratio. The $25 million clause, even amid an inflated market, sounds almost like an unmissable offer, but he knows that this figure is only part of the equation. In Guardiola's philosophy, it is not enough to be talented. One must be disciplined, dedicated, and, above all, reliable. Players who do not keep up with the team's tactical and physical demands simply do not last. This was the case with big names who arrived, shone for a moment, and then lost their place. City's squad is a mechanism that demands synchronization, and any piece out of rhythm can compromise the whole. Still, Cherki's recent development shows signs that he may be maturing at the right time. He himself has admitted in interviews that it took him a while to understand the importance of the phase without the ball and collective effort. Under Henry's watchful eye, he improved in this aspect, and the most recent season was, without doubt, the most consistent of his career. At the Etihad, he would have every opportunity to continue this growth, but only time will tell if this risk will pay off. Meanwhile, another area of the team is receiving special attention: midfield. And this is no coincidence. If there is one thing Guardiola values above all else, it is game control. The ability to dominate the rhythm of the match, whether against defensive opponents or in open contests, depends directly on the performance of the defensive midfielders and central midfielders. And although Rodri has been absolute in the role, the lack of depth in the sector has become evident. In this context, Arden Jashari emerges as a sure bet, not just for his talent, but also for his profile. He is a player who combines intensity, game reading, and distribution ability, three qualities rarely found in one name. Furthermore, his age makes him adaptable to City's style of play, which facilitates the adaptation process. The coaching staff's confidence in Akanji may prove decisive in this operation. Having him as a reference within the group eases Jashari's integration, allowing him to rely on support both on and off the pitch. This is not merely a technical issue. There is a genuine effort to make the environment more welcoming for new players, something Guardiola values greatly. The success of recent signings such as Gvardiol and Doku is proof of this. Within a scenario of possible departures and new arrivals, the club also needs to look inward. The potential farewell of Ederson, combined with the probable departure of Juan Malilo, represents a profound change not just in personnel, but in structure. Both have been pillars of stability over recent years, one on the pitch, the other off it. Now City needs to find new pillars to support the building. Hugo Viana's presence in this process can be seen as a bet on continuing success through intelligent renewal. It is not about breaking with the past, but rather perfecting it. His direct involvement in negotiations with goalkeepers and midfielders shows a practical and surgical approach. Instead of big media promises, City seems more interested in bringing in players who fit the system, the project, and the club culture. Another name appearing behind the scenes is Morgan Gibbs-White. Although still at an early stage of speculation, his profile is appealing. Creative, versatile, and with Premier League experience, he could be an interesting complementary piece for the squad, especially in matches where unpredictability is necessary. For now, discussions remain superficial, but this possibility cannot be ignored. In parallel, managing the current squad also demands attention. Players who were essential in previous campaigns are beginning to show signs of physical and mental wear. Part of the strategy for 2024-25 involves not only bringing in fresh blood, but also relieving the load on some athletes, allowing them to maintain high performance for longer. In this sense, the arrival of youngsters like Jashari, Cherki, and perhaps Joan Garcia or Diogo Costa aims not only to fill gaps, but to offer viable options for rotation. With an increasingly congested calendar, the ability to maintain performance levels throughout the season becomes a differentiator. This is the dilemma of a team that has won so much. How to keep winning, innovating, and reinventing itself without losing the essence that brought it to the top. Guardiola knows that time is relentless, and remaining static is the same as moving backwards. The board also seems to have understood this. And now, more than ever, every move needs to be precise. As the transfer market heats up, fans watch attentively. The moves behind the scenes reveal more than mere player changes. They show the soul of a club that does not want merely to be the best, but to remain so. City, like few others, understands that excellence is not a destination, but a path, and that this path, though difficult, is the only acceptable one. Manchester City's preparation for the upcoming season is not merely a reaction to the transfer market or a need for renewal. It also stems from a profound understanding that hegemony in modern football requires not only talent and tactics, but also energy management, collective mentality, and strategic freshness. For this reason, every departure, no matter how symbolic, is being planned with extreme care. The possible exit of Ederson, for example, is not just about losing a goalkeeper. It means letting go of a player who for years has been the foundation of offensive build-up from the back. His ability to participate in the game with his feet redefined the role of the goalkeeper in the Premier League, and finding a replacement of equal caliber will not be an easy task. This is where the names of Diogo Costa and Joan Garcia become even more relevant. Both possess characteristics that, over time and under the right guidance, could allow for a smooth transition. However, neither of them offers immediate certainty. Adaptation will be inevitable, and this is where the value of structured, continuous technical work comes in. The goalkeeper does not merely protect the goal. He also initiates plays, dictates the defensive rhythm, and needs to be a silent leader. The coaching staff, in turn, is beginning to reorganize itself to ensure that this transition does not affect the group's stability. The departure of Juanma Lillo is another step in this process. His importance, often underestimated by the wider public, was fundamental behind the scenes. Lillo was not merely an assistant, he was an advisor, a link between Guardiola and the players, a tactical and emotional brain. His connection with players like Rodri and his ability to keep the team focused during the most delicate moments made him one of the silent pillars of the Guardiola era. Replacing him will require not only someone knowledgeable about the game, but also someone with emotional intelligence to preserve the winning culture that City has built. There is not yet a confirmed name for this role, but rumors suggest Guardiola will seek someone who understands not only the working methodology, but also the club's philosophy. Lillo's absence does create a gap, yes, but it also offers an opportunity to rejuvenate the coaching staff, inject new ideas, and bring a different perspective that can complement Pep's genius. After all, even great geniuses need counterpoints, voices that challenge, question, and enhance. Meanwhile, Hugo Viana is working in parallel to ensure the squad is complete before the start of the season. The focus on young, technical, and versatile players demonstrates a clear shift in strategy. Fewer costly bets on established names, more investment in athletes hungry for development. The idea is not just to win, but to build a lasting foundation, prepared to sustain a cycle of victories over the years. This approach is not random. It directly responds to the new challenges of contemporary football. With the rise of leagues such as the Saudi Pro League, the European market is no longer the only center of attraction. Financial power is now dispersed, and clubs like City need to be more strategic than ever. The situation around the potential signing of Cherki is a prime example. Whereas players like him were once contested only among Europe's elite clubs, there is now the threat of millionaire offers from Arab, American, and even Asian clubs. Viana is aware of this and therefore tries to act with surgical precision. Time is short, and decisions need to be swift, but never at the expense of criteria. If Cherki arrives, he will represent more than just a technical reinforcement. He symbolizes a new mindset. One that bets on talents who have not yet reached their peak but show potential to explode under the right environment. Guardiola is known for getting the best out of his players, and perhaps Cherki is facing the opportunity of his career. But this bet involves risks. Henry himself made it clear that, despite undeniable talent, Cherki will need to maintain a level of concentration and discipline he has yet to sustain over long periods. At the Etihad, there is no room for half-hearted efforts. The demands are daily, the level is extremely high, and the margin for error minimal. In this sense, behind-the-scenes work will be as important as performance on the pitch. Adapting young talents to an elite environment requires more than training and matches. Psychological support, social integration, and connection with the squad are essential. This is where Manchester City has invested heavily, creating a comprehensive support structure that goes far beyond the pitch. From the training center to the medical and performance departments, everything is designed to allow the athlete to focus exclusively on development. Cherki, Jashari, or any other new signing will find a club that knows how to polish diamonds, but also demands total commitment. With so many changes happening simultaneously, a question begins to echo among supporters. Will Manchester City be stronger or more vulnerable after this restructuring? The answer is still uncertain, but the signs indicate a clear intention to maintain a high competitive level, even if that means letting go of historic names. This is, after all, the hallmark of a team determined to remain at the top, the courage to change, even when winning. And this kind of courage has been one of the club's greatest virtues in recent years. When everyone expected more of the same, City bet on new playing styles, new leadership, and new promises. And most of the time, they got it right. Now, with Hugo Viana taking the reins of negotiations and Guardiola redesigning his technical team, another chapter of this story begins to be written. a chapter that could mark the start of a new cycle of triumphs, or a more complex transitional period. Everything will depend on the execution of these plans, the squad's response, and the ability to adapt to a football landscape that changes every season. And you, supporter who follows every news item, every rumor, every training session, are you ready for the new Manchester City being shaped behind the scenes? The season hasn't even started yet, but the game is already underway, and it could define what we will see on the pitches in the coming years. Thus, we conclude another comprehensive analysis of Manchester City's future, a club that never stops reinventing itself and pursuing excellence. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to leave a like. It greatly helps strengthen the channel and ensures more supporters like you get access to the latest from the citizens. Also, take the opportunity to subscribe, activate notifications, and never miss an update on signings, internal news, tactical analyses, and everything involving this football giant's daily life. We want to continue bringing everything firsthand to you, with lots of exclusive content and quality. And of course, leave your opinion in the comments. Who do you think will be City's next goalkeeper? What do you expect from this new phase after Lillo's departure? Is betting on Cherki worth it? Let's chat and keep this conversation alive. Thank you for your company and see you in the next video. Until then, best wishes and go City.